Hola, mi amor. Are you ready to wake some people up today?
Always, because too many experts out there are still invisible, and that ends now.
This is the Inspire Authority podcast, where we teach coaches, creators, and entrepreneurs how to build unstoppable brands through writing, storytelling, and media.
I'm RJ Stewart Inspire, author, business coach, and creative strategist.
And I'm Noelle Ayana, digital creator, brand strategist, and yes, sometimes I call him mi amor.
Together, we're giving you the truth. No fluff, no filters. Because talent is nothing without visibility, and visibility is nothing without authority.
So buckle up, amor. It's time to turn your message into power and your story into profit.
Your love is a flame I surrender to.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're focusing on a really specific kind of struggle. It's the one faced by the genuinely skilled expert, the dedicated coach, who looks around and just realizes they're completely invisible. Our source material for this is a fascinating, and I'll say sometimes uncomfortable, analysis called The Architecture of Authority, Beyond the Invisible Coach.
That's absolutely right. And our mission for this deep dive is to really bypass the typical conversation.
Check marketing funnels, the better Instagram reels.
Exactly. We're going to skip that and instead tackle the core, the fundamental breakdown. We're looking at the deeper psychological reasons why really capable professionals feel like they're shouting into a void.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sources, they really don't mince words. They argue that most professionals aren't struggling because of a lack of skill or talent.
Not at all. They have the degrees, they have the frameworks, they get results for the clients they do have.
The real uncomfortable truth is that they're hiding.
Exactly. Hiding behind safe, generic language. Hiding behind frameworks they've just borrowed from someone else. And this is the most damaging part. They're hiding behind content that provides value, but never actually challenges anyone.
It's content designed not to offend.
Yes. And the market, the audience, can sense that hesitation instantly. It creates this subtle but really potent energy of avoidance.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. In our current era, everyone has access to the same information. If I want the 5 steps to anything, I can find it in 2 minutes.
Right.
So authority can't just be about what you know anymore.
That's the critical pivot. The source says authority now comes entirely from who you are being while you say it. It's the energy, the conviction. That distinction is the line between content you just scroll past and the rare thing that stops you mid-feed.
Because it feels like a truth being spoken.
A personal truth, yeah.
So if the market is sensing this hesitation, what's the root cause? I mean, we're talking about incredibly smart people. Why do they pull their punch?
The sources hit on this right away. They call it the quiet fear.
Oh, okay.
It's this deep, often unconscious worry that if I say what I really think, if I stop smoothing the edges, I'm going to alienate people.
I might lose the audience I've worked so hard to build. That makes sense.
And that fear is what pushes professionals to constantly soften their message.
They dilute the truth to be safe. They prioritize being liked over leading. And I imagine a lot of our listeners are nodding along right now, relating to that feeling.
And that leads us straight to the central paradox in this material. The sources claim that the moment you stop trying to be liked, that is the precise moment you become trusted.
Wow. That's a powerful perspective shift, isn't it?
It is.
Because trust isn't built on just agreeing with everyone. It's built on conviction. If you're trying to please everyone, you're inherently unreliable. Your message just bends with the wind.
Precisely. And if your aim is universal approval, you'll always be chasing, you'll never be leading. A leader has a specific philosophy. Not everyone's going to like it, but the people who need it, they recognize it instantly.
And the sources really emphasize this point, that people do not follow perfection. Chasing that flawless image is just exhausting, and it's not relatable.
No.
What the audience really follows is permission. When you stop trying to be perfect, you give others permission to be imperfect. When you state your truth, you give them permission to own theirs.
So choosing leadership means you have to actively abandon that chase. You have to be okay with some people walking away because they probably weren't your true audience in the first place.
Which sets us up perfectly for the next section, which gets into what the sources call the biggest lie in modern coaching culture.
Oh, this is a big one.
It's this belief that if I just give more value, if I just create better free stuff, people will eventually notice me.
And it is demonstrably false. We see the evidence everywhere. Think about it. You can post a flawless, super helpful infographic,
The 5 steps to what end?
Exactly. You can explain a concept better than anyone else in your field, and you can still be invisible. Why? Because value without a distinct identity is just noise.
That hits hard.
Yeah.
So why do we do it? Why do we prioritize value so much if it's not working? Is it just safer?
It is safer. Sharing value feels transactional. It's less vulnerable. And this is where the source draws a critical line between an expert and an authority. This discussion is everything.
Okay, so what's the difference? How do they define it?
Experts explain. Authorities lead. The expert's goal is to show how much they know. They want you to say, wow, they're so smart. The authority's goal is to shift your perspective. They want you to say, I need to follow where they're going.
I can see that in the delivery too. Experts often sound impressive. They use jargon, complex terms, almost to prove their worthiness.
Whereas authorities sound perfectly clear, their confidence isn't in their vocabulary, it's in the clarity of their message. They've done the hard work to make complex ideas feel simple and undeniable. That takes courage, not just cleverness.
So for the listener who's spending hours crafting this perfect, helpful content, if your best tips, your frameworks, if they could be posted by anyone else in your industry,
Then you don't have a marketing problem.
you have an identity problem.
Exactly. You're interchangeable. And in this space, interchangeability is invisibility.
So that brings us to the temptation to solve that by just borrowing language from people who are successful. It feels safe, but the sources are clear. It feels hollow.
And that hollowness isn't just in the audience's mind, it's physically embodied by the speaker. I mean, think about that tension. When you stand up and you repeat phrases that don't come from your lived experience, your body knows it's a lie.
But how does that actually show up?
Well, the source suggests there's a measurable feedback loop. Your voice gets tight, your energy pulls back, and the audience, they sense that disconnect. They can't name it, but they know the message isn't quite landing. It lacks resonance.
And that leads right to burnout.
Mm-hmm.
The sources make a great point here. Coaches aren't tired of posting content.
No, they are tired of pretending while they post it. The effort of maintaining that misalignment, that gap between who you are and who you feel you should be, that's what's so draining.
You're spending more energy on the performance than the message.
Precisely.
So, okay, if performing isn't the answer, we have to talk about authenticity. But the sources define it in a really interesting way. It's not about oversharing every messy detail of your life.
No, thank goodness. It's simplified to a single word: alignment. When your public message matches your inner truth, speaking becomes lighter, your presence becomes magnetic, and your authority feels natural, not forced.
That shift from effort to ease, it brings us to this huge contrast the sources make between two words we often confuse: confidence and clarity. I think this might be the most powerful part of the whole thing.
I agree. Confidence is external. It's loud. It's always trying to convince you of something.
It's a performance.
It is. Clarity, on the other hand, is an internal state. Clarity is undeniable. So it doesn't need to convince anyone. It just is. It's like a lighthouse. It just shines.
And most professionals make the strategic mistake of chasing confidence. They look for better hooks, sharper calls to action, all these external tactics.
Right, the tactical optimizations. But they do all that without ever doing the deeper work of getting clear.
So what does that deeper work require? It's not buying another course.
It requires ownership. Clarity comes from owning your story, owning your unique perspective, and crucially, owning the consequences of speaking that truth. Being willing to be misunderstood.
That's a vulnerable place to be. When you own your truth, you draw a line in the sand, and some people are going to be on the other side of it.
They will be. And this is the heart of the risk. Let's go back to why people scroll past you. The sources are definitive on this.
Okay.
People don't scroll past you because you're wrong. They scroll past you because you are careful.
Careful not to offend, careful not to be misunderstood, careful not to outgrow your current audience. Wow, that sounds exhausting.
It is, and it kills authority. Leadership isn't careful. Leadership is honest. And sometimes honesty is disruptive. The moment you let yourself be fully seen is when trust finally forms. And that's when the real listening begins.
So let's bring this all together. The ultimate takeaway from this whole deep dive seems to be that authority isn't something you perform, it's something you embody.
Yes.
The fundamental line is this: authority begins where pretending ends.
That is the core realization. You don't need a louder voice, you need a truer one. You don't need another marketing trick. You need radical alignment between who you are and what you're saying. The future belongs to the clearest voices.
And just for context, the authors themselves mention this framework as why they built the Authoritative Collective. a space for people who are done performing and ready to embody.
It's a mechanism to stop operating from that place of quiet fear. So if we bring this back to you, the listener, the key shift is monumental. The path to being heard is less about optimizing your output and much, much more about aligning with your internal truth.
That's the perfect distillation of it. But before we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought pulled straight from the source's closing reflection. If this deep dive made you uncomfortable, if your stomach tightened when we talked about borrowed language or being careful, don't view that as a warning sign.
View that discomfort as an invitation to stop hiding, to stop softening what is true for you, to trust that your real voice, unedited, is powerful enough. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to come home to yourself.
And when you do, the right people will finally listen. Go embody that authority, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.